can we go over your shutdown routine? So,
Yeah.
obviously, this is where you meditate, you unwind, but at what part do you write your to-do list for the next day? So you're talking about the biggest three things that are moving the needle forward.
Right.
Do you do that before you meditate and wind down, or is that something you do after? Because like what I'd love to do is people that are watching this, whether it's on the live or next week, something that they can implement in their life. Let's go more into detail
Yeah.
onto this shutdown routine.
Absolutely. Great question, Alan. So, the first thing that I do is I check my emails. Like I said, I kind of triage them where if it's something that's going to take a little more effort, I write it down. I notate it into the notes part of my planner. I don't actually plug it in yet as to whether it should be one of my big three or whether it should be a secondary task, but I write it down. If it's something that can be answered with a quick, 20-second message, I just respond immediately. That takes me about 15 minutes. Then I go through social media for about another
Mhm.
15 minutes. I make sure that I've responded to comments. I make sure that because I don't want to be on social media when I'm with my family. So that's my personal way of being like, okay,
Mm.
in fact, you've noticed as we've messaged, I'm sure you've noticed that sometimes you'll send a message and it's like the next day that I answer. It's because I've shut down for that day. I'm not checking my messages. I'm not
Mm.
checking my DMs. So that's
Also,
part of the shutdown.
you're playing hard to get, but
Yeah, it's right. I am. I do play hard to get. You're right. Uh, but so I check. So I spend 15 minutes on email, 15 minutes checking
Mm.
my Facebook, Instagram, YouTube comments, anywhere that people might comment or message me,
Yeah.
just to make sure that again. And if it's something that's more in depth, it's going to take more time than 30 seconds. I write it down in my notes. If it's not going to take more, I immediately respond. However, I don't get into conversations during the work. If I respond and then
Mm.
somebody immediately responds, I already gave you my response to that thing. You're just going to have to wait till tomorrow. I also do social media during my workday so that people aren't ignored entirely. It's just this is part of my workday shutdown. After that, so that's about a half hour. Right at the tail end of that, well, so social media is probably about 10 minutes. And then take about 5 minutes because I already know what projects I'm working on. I already know what
Mm.
major steps I need to be taking. So I take about 5 minutes to review those projects, look at what I need to do the next day, look at my notes. Who do I need to respond to? What do I need to do? And then I determine what my big
Mm.
three are. Now, that being said, my big three, sometimes one or two of them doesn't even have anything to do with my business. It might be, okay, looking at my calendar, tomorrow I got to take my daughter to the doctor. So that's one of my big three, right? I got to do
Mm.
that. I'm not taking my daughter to the doctor is not going to be a secondary task, you know?
Mm.
Um, so it's okay to do that. But if there's nothing going on, if you've got the whole day clear to work on your business, then you've got to decide what are the three most important things to do. So the way I break it up is I have a daily big three, a weekly big three, a monthly big three, a quarterly big two or three, which then leads to annual goals. So by reverse engineering my annual goals that way, I can literally connect what I'm doing during the day to my annual goal and breaking it down, reverse engineering to the quarter. What milestone do I
Mm.
need to hit in the quarter? What milestone do I need to hit in the month? What milestone do I need to hit in the week? And then what milestone do I need to hit in during the day? And so I can attach those things. And so I write those big three down. Then I write down secondary tasks. These are the things I can do in between, if I'm waiting for videos to finish editing, or I'm waiting for my editor to send something to me, and I can respond to some emails during that time or do something
Mm.
else so that I'm continuing the process of being productive. And then after that, so I have in mind what my three tasks are for the day. I just went through them, just wrote them down, and I do use a physical planner. So I just wrote them down. Now I go and I have a recliner in my office, and I sit in my recliner. I turn off the lights, I kick it back, and I meditate for a half hour. I
Yeah.
put on noise canceling headphones, completely immerse myself in some music that helps me focus on meditating. And I think about, again, I close out the day, kind of give myself a little celebration of what I've done. I think about what I'm going to do tomorrow. And then I think about the phase that I'm moving into, which is husband and dad, so that I can leave all work behind. I leave my phone
Mm.
downstairs. I leave my work phone downstairs. I shut my computer off. Everything can just be focused on where I want to be present, to be there with my family. One of the things that I got asked was, you're so busy as an entrepreneur, you're going out, you're speaking, you're going on podcasts, you're building your business, you're coaching, you're doing all of these things. How is it that you can still have a close family? And I said, because when I'm with them, I'm with them.
Mm.
And so that's part of my shutdown ritual, end of day ritual, is to make sure that when I'm with them, I am with them. I'm not still thinking about work. I'm not still talk. I don't talk about it at dinner. After work, I don't think about work. I don't read. I even read different books. So during the day, if I take a break, I read a business book because I love learning
Mm.
and growing that. In the evening, I read an entirely different type of book, whether it's fiction or maybe it's not fiction, but it's just not in the vein of business. Maybe it's a spiritual book, it's a meditation book, something along those lines.
Mm.
But I take those, so I separate my life. And that way, when I'm with my family, when I'm there, I'm present. When I'm there instead of still thinking about. I don't. So my rules are: don't talk about work, don't think about work, don't read about work, and don't do work. And that goes for my weekends as well. So that's my day. That's my. And I do have to point one thing out. One of the reasons I do that is because I literally, when I plan my week, I block off that time. When I'm done with work, that time gets
Mm.
blocked off, and so does the weekends. And those are appointments. Those appointments are just as important and sacred to me as this appointment that I made to be with you today. So when people say, "Hey, can you meet at this time?" If it's during the weekend, if it's during my off time, I just politely tell them, "I'm sorry, I'm previously engaged at that time. I
Mm.
already have an appointment." And it's not lying. The appointment is with my wife, it's with my children, it's with it's with myself, if it's self-care, if
Yeah.
it's just spending time with myself. And so I need I need to emphasize that when you're planning your week, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to have a set shutdown time for work, and then that's got to be it. There's no violating
Mm.
that.